guys. So, Jim, if you want to take it away, man.
Yeah, sure. Hold on. All right. We've been recording this since 9 o'clock. So you're gonna have a lot of editing to do there, Mason. Yeah, it's okay though. So yeah, I'm not really good with introductions, as you all know, but I will do my best. So it's a pleasure to have a majority of you guys on. I know we're missing a few smiling faces this morning, but I want to thank Mason for getting one of my mentors on this call. A good friend. I've known him since I've been in this business, obviously, but I think he's number one in the company. He's the first Symmetry agent, right? So
It's got to count for something, right?
Yeah, something. I guess Casey says that, right?
Yeah, Casey. No, probably not, actually.
So I'd like to introduce you guys, Lynn Watkins. Super proud that you're on here, man. Thank you for taking your time.
I'm just glad to be on with you guys, leaders like yourself and Kevin and David and Mason. And then to see all the new folks coming up, it's pretty awesome. Levi.
Yeah. Better say hi.
Yeah. But must have move on us now. You in the car, or you would, right? So.
For sure.
Yeah.
So, Lynn, kind of, we probably have majority of these agents are probably 6 months or newer.
Right.
Some have been here maybe a year.
Yeah.
Kind of tell them a little bit about your story, how you started.
Sure.
All that.
Well, what I'm seeing is if this size crowd's at 6 months to a year, there's a lot of warm market growth in here, and a lot of past friends and acquaintances likely, talking to each other and, man, look at what I'm doing, and it's pretty awesome. Let's come help me, because it is just as a sales job, it's one of the best things out there, and it kind of goes along well with kind of how I got started. Casey's my younger brother, one of the owners of the company. And when I started, about 3 years prior to that, Casey was working for me. I'd done construction cleaning in Asheville, North Carolina, and he was running a pressure washing truck for me, doing pressure washing, finishing up houses before people moved in, and cleaning windows and things like that, And he had a buddy that was doing mortgage protection. Well, actually, they were doing some kind of health insurance, and his buddy was always winning trips like the carriers do for us, because all of you guys can qualify for 3 trips next year if you want to. If you work hard enough and you want to, you could be on 3 free trips next year, all paid for 100%. So he was, I think, 21, 22 years old at the time. And his buddy was the same age exactly, with a wife and probably not a super expensive house at that age, $250,000 house in Asheville, though. It's probably a shoebox, but still it's better than what Casey had living in his parents' basement, So he like, what in the world? Because he kept paying him to house sit for him as he'd go on these insurance trips. He said, "What are you doing?" And he showed him the lead. He showed him the insurance. He said, "Can I do it?" And so Casey got his license and he left working for me, kind of got into that business of health insurance. And they were basically going door to door. And they said there were leads that was 5-6 years old with mustard stains on them and stuff. They would get those leads. And the only way you could work them, they were so old, you couldn't work them by phone. They'd pull out a map, and they'd go to the rural areas, pull out a map and pinpoint all of them on a map, and then just go drive the circuit. And then they would do the T approach when they were doing door knocks. So the T approach is, you got the card for the lady or the gentleman right here on the street. You call on the one across the street and the one on each side of them. And I'm just over here helping so-and-so, just to see if you could get some more business, and he done that for a couple of years, and his buddy left. went went to a mortgage protection leads based company, and Casey followed him there. And then when I finally realized, or finally started talking to Casey, or he started talking to me about what he was doing because he was excited, it was around the era of him being, you will, if you haven't heard, there was an era where he was kind of getting started, ready to build a team. He hadn't built one yet, but he was kind of playing around with it. He was just been like a top producer, and luckily he had bought a ticket to conference at the 1st of February. And then if he said, if I hadn't have pre-bought that like 6 months earlier, he probably wouldn't have went. But right before the whole entire month of January, he was like the #1 agent the year before in the company. That month, he went the entire month, 27 appointments, I think it was, with 0 sales. And he was looking at want ads and almost ready to leave the insurance industry. And, because how you call it, I mean, it sounds great. It's going to leave the insurance industry. When you're not making any money, you're not in an industry, right? you're just somebody out there doing something. So like, big deal, you left the industry. Whoa. So he's about ready to leave the insurance industry. And but he's like, well, we already paid to go to Atlanta to go to this conference. We're already supposed to be there. He comes out, has his biggest month ever in February. And by the time I got my license was April of 2006. So that was February of 2006. January, no sales. February, his biggest month. He was agency owner by the time April rolled around, and had $60,000 of production. I didn't even understand what that meant. I just was, give me some leads and tell me what to say to people so I can go make some money. That's all I cared about. I've got to make money. So, because here's a little difference. And I see a lot of you folks on the call younger. I see some more my age, maybe with families and obligation. I had a wife and 3 kids and 2 mortgage payments and a car payment that the car needed to go back to the bank because we couldn't afford it. And it was the only car we had that we could go anywhere in as a family with 5 of us, right? So while I like the fact that Casey said, hey, take this lead, look at this, this is what I do, you can come help me, and you can build a business here. Because think about his time frame. He was right in the process of having that biggest month. And then what did that attract? It attracted all of his best friends, his younger best friends, his age, not my age, right? With young kids. I had young kids. They had no responsibilities. So none of those friends are still here with him, but it helped build the nucleus of what started his organization. And I'm not saying that's me. I'm saying it built the framework and the groundwork around his work ethic. And it showed him that duplication is possible, because he duplicated himself within me, right? But my whole objective that first 6 months to a year was get ourselves above water, get ourselves back to broke, right? Get ourselves back where we're treading at least nose above water, not drowning. And so when I got my first set of leads, I was running, my only objective, and I heard a lot of y'all talking about activity earlier, about how many dials, and that was the key thing. Anytime I ran into a roadblock, Casey's counsel and coaching was, how many dials do you do? That was the first question, because in sales, that's the #1 thing to not hit your quota on, is your activity. So what's the natural first question? It's not to assume, like, somebody asks you that, you could take offense and say, well, what do you think? I'm not doing my dials? Well, generally that's what happens. You don't do your dials, right? Like, we get sidetracked. We have things happen, and we look around at the end of the week. If we're not tally marking them, we don't really know what we did, right? So my first objective was, give me enough leads to put in 300 dials, like you've been telling everybody that I've heard on every conference call they need to do. I need enough leads to do 300 dials that week. So I sat down, done my 300 dials, had a dozen appointments, and was a deer in the headlights. I mean, y'all got some coaching and counseling on what to write this morning that Casey didn't have a clue on, right? So it's like we had about one product, and I went and wrote that one product on everybody I sat with, and about half of it got approved. I made about $4,000. I'm like, whew. As a 42-year-old male with 3 young kids and a wife counting on you that doesn't work out of the house, other than she worked part-time for Casey, I think. That's was a load off of my mind and heart, right? Like, and then just, I think that's what's so attractive about this business to me is if you can do that, if you can go out and write 3 or 4 thousand, enough to make $3,000 or $4,000 in 1 week, how many people do you know that could do that? And it's initially what people think when you say that is like, oh, here we go. It's a company that just tries to get you to recruit people. I say it because of what I did, right? I say it because of the sales process. Take some leads, dial 300 dials, run 12 appointments, put $4,000 in my bank account. Yeah, let's turn that into a recruiting process. Please, let's turn that into, let me recruit everybody I can show that plan to, right? Because who else has that? So don't ever kind of hold back trying to show it to someone because you feel like, oh, I don't want to come across as a, recruiter, an insurance recruiter, because you have something different than most people have out there in the insurance industry. You have a lead-driven program that gets you in front of clients that are asking for help, or at least whittles down the pile of people you go through to get to the ones who actually want some help, right? We know not everybody's going to buy, but we also know that we have narrowed the field down where we can do what we do in about 2 to 3 days a week to make 150 grand a year on our own pen. Whereas every other insurance model out there that's not similar, we have some that's similar to ours on contract level and different things like that's different, but they're lead driven off of mortgage protection, final expense. We have some of that. But if you compare it to like New York Life or MetLife, or I can't even think of the other insurance IMOs out there that they don't, well, most like Amway, or not Amway, but Primerica, Citicorp, they don't have but the one carrier, and they don't have a lead source. Their lead source is recruit people. So I recruit David so I can sell him a policy and get to all of his friends and family and show him how to do it. And maybe I can recruit Noah, who's his best buddy, and it's to sell Noah a policy. And if I get David to sell Andrew Hardenberg a policy, then Noah makes money, David makes money, and I make money. So it's all about, the recruiting is the lead source. The recruiting is the sales drive. Our sales drive is often leads, who people are filling out something asking for help. So it makes it totally different. In those industries, you can make the same kind of money, but you'll do it in 8 days a week instead of 3 days a week, right? Because you can go, I mean, if, let's face it, Jim, if they came out tomorrow and said no leads, what would you and me do? I know I'd be going door to door, probably knocking on doors, selling insurance.
Yeah.
It's a market that's extremely wide open. I mean, 60% of people have coverage, and it's 126,000. Is that right? I think that's the numbers. That's crazy. Like, that tells me I can go down any street around here and know that everybody needs some, and everybody needs some or more, because 126,000 of coverage is not enough for anyone, really. Maybe all some of our people can afford, or some of our clients can afford, is 10 or 15,000, but they need more.
Yeah.
So,
you've been here since the start of Symmetry, right? So, what is that, 11 years now?
Yep. Yep. Since it was October 2009. We actually called the start of the company January 2010 though.
Yeah. So last month you did about 3.26 million.
Yep.
I remember when I first came into this business, I think you were doing $1 million. a month?
Probably not that, Jim. I
Yeah.
think we were probably where y'all are at on the
Yeah.
Monteith organization, probably about that size then.
800. Yeah. So let me ask you this question, right? I mean, you've been here since day one. I mean, 11 years. Would you change anything about that? And because there's some people that are like, well, I got to wait, or I got to do this for 11 years to make X dollar, right? I mean, your passive income. So, without you sharing, I mean, what is it like that, for you?
I think absolutely. There was a lot I learned, and this will kind of go towards what we was just talking about with other IMOs and carriers. And I don't ever like to be the one that's bashing another IMO, but we have a lot of recruitment from and against that IMO, and it's one of those things that where I was at, where me and Casey and Brandon was at what we would call a practice company, was not the same character and integrity of people that you have here. When I say people, I mean in the upper leadership, in the Casey, Brandon, and Brian Popes, the owners, the owner of that company, and a lot of its top leadership, which one of that top leadership is the owner of the other company that we're talking about right now. And there's no way I would ever be in business with that type of an individual. So no, I wouldn't trade anything for, and I wouldn't say I'd done the wrong thing by starting with Casey and Brandon, because I was with the right people in the right place at the wrong time, really. Because when we first started that first 4 years, so when you say you're here 11 years, can anybody put that 11 years in? Well, I think there's a lot of young folks on here. Y'all got the 11 years. Y'all got that in the bag, right? But 11 years is a long time to devote to something, even if it does get you to say $1 million a year income, right? Like, yeah, but maybe I don't make it through that 11 years, right? Well, that first 4 to 5 years of Symmetry, out of the 11 years, I think there's anybody on the phone today that can do what I've done and get to 3.26 million last month. I think there's people on the phone. There's people getting hired today. There's probably someone on this call brand new that if they done everything right and everything fell into place right, they could be at 3.26 inside of 3 years. Like, I just feel like the system and everything around it has gotten so much better so quick that people are just developing much faster within it. If they'll hang in there and stick in with the hard work that it takes, they'll get there way faster than I got to that size, So no, right place, the right individuals, the right character and integrity, and being part of the advisory board since they informed it, started the advisory board, was kind of a bold, a genius move on their part to kind of keep them connected, and kind of as they got further away from the field and further away from building and kind of building the processes around all of that. Like, I realized how important that stuff was. They're working on doing that, and then stepping up and leading the front on sales with a team, and on building with a team was huge.
So, along the lines of accountability, along the lines of expectations, what is it that you expect out of agents when they first come into Symmetry, that makes them successful here?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Jim, and it's one I feel like we hear a lot when we hear the builders call. If any of you guys are on the builders call and you hear about setting the right expectations, I think it's as much about making sure who you're talking to is understood what you're saying as the right expectations as much as anything, if that makes sense. Like, I need to tell you how hard it is so that you understand, when I've poured my heart and soul into helping you get started, and the first flashy object that comes along, you run and chase, that's a lot of mental energy wasted. And I told you it was going to be difficult. right? I told you it was going to be that hard. And for you to give up that easy is just too much, right? That's what you run into. And so I think setting the proper expectations with it, even with anyone brand new on the phone today, I would say I've learned a lot in the past 2 years, Jim, about what's going on in the world and what people are like. I think we all have. When we look at stimulus checks and unemployment rates and things like that, it makes me realize that all those years in recruiting a lot of people, it wasn't the fact that I'm on the phone with someone telling them what it takes and are you that person? You know, I've laid out what it takes and how hard it's going to be and the work you're going to need to put in. Jim, before I send you the paperwork to get started on this, are you that type person? What do we hear? Oh, by gosh, you would not believe what I've done. And here's what I'm going to do. It's going to be amazing. And then they get their first set of leads or their 10th set of leads and they have a bad week. And then they're on the witness protection program, right? And that's what we found today is, no, I'd rather set my big butt on the couch and draw a check is to go to work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're brand new on here, are you the type person that when the tough gets tough, you get going, right? Like I want to get after it. And I think I go back to my initial start, right? Like I wanted to change where I was at for my family. Right. Like it wasn't just my brother saying, hey, come help me do this business. Okay, I'll give it a shot. You know, I needed a change. I'm 42 years old. If I'm going to make something happen, I'm going to make it from now until I'm 52. Right. And I need to know everything it takes to do it because I'm not going to let anything fail for me and my family. Right. I'm not going to let anything fall through the cracks. I don't want anyone to come back and say, you know, I can picture, say, Casey talking to my wife 10 years in after he tried to recruit me and it didn't work out. And Casey's had all this success and we're basically maybe still paycheck to paycheck in poverty. And the two of them start talking and Casey says, I just wished he would have done all he needed to do. How's that make me feel? Right. I just wished he'd have done all that he needed to do to win here. Yeah. Right. And you guys you have such a awesome opportunity in front of you because you've got people in front of you with Kishan, David, Jim. You got all those people that knows the recipe to get you there, the recipe to get you to do the right things at the right time and make it work. It's just, you have to completely sell out. And I think that's the other thing I've thought of over the years. It's like, why is it so hard for some people? And I go back to me. It's like my younger brother got me into the business. He's probably not going to try to get me into something he doesn't 100% believe in, right? He's not going to try to just take advantage of me. So I went with that type of work ethic. I went right out of the gate. Tell me the full list of things I need to do. And I'm going to grade myself on that. And I feel like sometimes we have folks, well, I hear what Jim's saying. I hear what Mason's saying. I need to buy a book. Here's a big one. I need to get a ticket to conference and go to Denver, Colorado, right? Like I hear what he's saying, but let me get started first and kind of dabble in it. I just don't think, here's what I think about that. If you don't, like with, let's use the conference. If you don't commit and just, I'm part of this and I'm going to make it work. So I might as well commit. I've got to go to that. Right. If you don't do that, you may not make it till the next go around. You may not make it till the next one there is. And what you'll hear from about anybody you talk to right now that's been to the last 3 or 4 years of conferences will tell you is I wouldn't be here if I wasn't at a conference. Right. So you want to know what they teach you there? Jim, you want to know what they teach you?
Well, I already know what they teach me.
No, I don't care what they teach me. If I know that it makes the people who are winning that I see on conference calls every week, day in and day out, I see them on my Facebook page. Kyle Kimbrell, did you see the house Kyle Kimbrell bought? My God. I see Brian Delaney and the pool he's built. Like just little things like that. There's a car, certain ones driving. I see the success. Like, I don't care what they learn there. I'm going to be there with those people, right? I want to be there to be around that type person because there's something they're doing that's getting them where they want to go. And I want to be around whatever that water source is, right?
I mean, we talk about association as key, right? Is key to winning. Obviously with Symmetry or whatnot, even in your personal life, association is key. I love that, the expectation part of what new agents need to get done. So let me ask you kind of a hard question, right? So you have an agent that comes to you and says, hey, Lynn, I'm not getting any success right now. Like what for you as a new agent, because there are some that come in, like, oh man, I'm going to blow it up. I'm going to be the best, like, oh, I'm the best sales guy, but then fall right on their face. What do you think for that purpose? Is it lack of activity? Is it a different mindset? What do you think would make those individuals more successful in the insurance realm?
That's a good question too. It's hard to say. Everybody's a little bit different on, why they win and why they don't, but I feel like my first question is, what do you want? I'm going to go back to the emotion. What was my emotion? What was my emotion, David, on why when Casey said, yeah, here's what I do. What was my emotion to get my insurance license? Change for my family. We couldn't keep going the direction we were going. I'm going to lose everybody and everything I had around me, right? Such a change for my family. So I would go back to, what do you want? What are you willing to do to get that? Go deep in the emotion. It's like that's a lot of times when we're new recruiting, it's the same as being new in the field. We asked vague, short questions around emotion, or we asked vague, short questions around why they need coverage, or we may ask vague, short questions around medication and health history, just because we don't know yet, right? And the most important things we can talk about on an interview is what they want and what do they want to change for their family. And then it makes everything you're setting up hold that much more water. Everything you're setting up with expectations, it makes people want to do everything they need to do. So a lot of times someone's coming to you saying, I don't know, man, I'm just struggling. What's going on? Instead of digging into all the things on the keys to success and what it could be, was it activity? Was this? I'm going to maybe go back to emotion first and see, was there enough emotion built for them to just, no, I know it's not activity. Here's my numbers. Boom. Here they are. No, I know it's not this. Here's this. I got it. No, you say read books. No, I got it. Yep. Conferences. I've been to every one of them. Here's my list. It's not that. I know it's not that. What else is it? Right. And it may be some little something, but a lot of times it's just the emotion, the fact that the emotion wasn't built high enough for them to want to work hard enough to get where they need to go.
Yeah, I like that. How many notes are people writing down? I mean, I'm just telling you, it's pretty good stuff.
I love the one in the chats. I think Juliana says, I will be a millionaire. Love that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Mindset means nothing to do with $5 work ethic. That's for sure.
So as far as, Symmetry in general, where do you see yourself maybe in the next 2 years, Lynn?
We've got so much value out of Symmetry and everything we've done for 11 years now with it. And then 3 or 4 years from 06 till now, like where the insurance industry has taken us is just crazy, So I feel like just seeing more success, seeing the team grow from 3.26 to double that, because what do we got right now behind us? We got what do you call that? That momentum, the growth, you call it when you got a multiplication effect.
Nuclear fission.
No, yeah, no, not that one. I'll think of it. But
Chain reaction. What do you?
the fact that we have exponential
Okay.
exponential right now, the fact that we have so much talent in the not only the leadership teams of the company, just I mean y'all's cross line leadership, even you got some incredible leaders around you besides just in your string of upline. You got incredible leaders cross line that's there to help the executive staff, the talent they're bringing on, and the growth we're seeing just in the past 6 months, the value, the ratings of the company, because they're getting evaluations all the time from people with money looking at them. So I think in the past year, it's went up like $200 or $300 million in evaluation just off of the growth they've had in the past 6 months, you know. So crazy stuff happening there. So I feel like the exponential part. So 3.26 took me 11 years to get there. I could see us being at 10 million a month in another 2 years, which means, you know, Jim on here is probably doing 2 million himself, you know. Some of you guys could be doing 1 million a month inside of 2 years very easily. So my estimations could be lower on the exponential side. That's something hard to really put numbers on, you know.
Lynn, so what do you think the focus or what do you think is most important for a new agent when they're coming on here? Like Julie's going to take her test today. Noah just passed his the other weekend. Like, what do you think a new agent's focus should really be on? What's most important for them to get the full scope of the business and be successful here?
That 100% pouring in, Mason, and realizing that value of the mentorship and building that relationship. So if Julianne is direct to you and you're growing, then she should be 100% on the phone with you 2 or 3 times a day. If it's by text or whatever, just letting you know where she's at, what she's doing, where her numbers look. I'm excited. You should see him on Slack. You should see him reporting on that. Like that brings energy to everyone else. I'm part of the team, right? But the fact that you're pouring into a mentor and saying, here's what I'm doing so you can keep me up. Like I want to feel like I'm on a bicycle with training wheels as a kid and my dad is behind me on the seat. If I start to wobble, I may not know it as a how old's a kid? 18 months, 2 years?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, 6 or 7. I don't know how old they are when they ride bikes anymore. Mine's all almost 30. So the kid, if they don't know, they're just going to go boom and fall over and hit their head, right? But the dad's behind them and he jerks that seat a little bit and gets them back upright. But if the dad's nowhere around and he's over here having a beer and grilling a hamburger and the kid's over there riding a bicycle, they're just going to crash and fall over. They never knew that dad was helping them, right? Or dad needed to help them.
So the camaraderie, just making them feel safe.
Just make sure that dad's always behind you on your seat. And the only way he's going to be behind you is if you say, hey, I'm getting on my bike, strapping my helmet on, let's go, right? He knows you're there. He knows what you're doing that day. He's got you, right?
Yeah,
absolutely. Kevin, you want to ask a question, man, for your group?
Sure. How you doing, Lynn?
Hey, good, buddy. How are you?
Hi, not too bad. So when you get to the AO level, the owners always say you kind of get up there and then all of a sudden you kind of slide back. For me, as in talking with Jim and kind of lean on all the mentors of how you master, like you said, talking to people 2 or 3 times a day and still keeping your production up and making sure you're leading from the front. I've had a couple issues in the last couple of months where I had to do AO stuff and this and that. I'm like wrapping my head around it. I'm trying to do it. I'm getting back up there, but it's just, you know, for David and Mason, they're getting ready to do it and people want to grow that. I mean, it is a totally different, it's like a water hose being opened on you. And then you got to still make sure you lead from the front, you know. Yeah. We got about 4 or 5 of these people aspiring to do that. You know, what kind of advice do you have?
Well, what you said first or there just a second goes you still got to lead from the front. And so there's two things that has to happen. The attraction factor in this business comes from the fact that Casey had written that kind of production, or I wrote 11,000 my first week. How's that help me when I go and start talking to people, or people watching me, my friends and family watching me? How does that help me? Right? It changes my outcome. So the two most important things I can do is personal production for that purpose, for leading from the front and for the attraction factor, and to prove it's working, right? And the other thing is I've got to pay my bills, because if I'm broke, busted, and disgusted, and I can't afford everything because my personal production wasn't there, then that entire team will go away. So you're right, Kevin. It is that part for that time that you still need to make personal production until you don't, while you're building and needing to lead from the front. That's the most treacherous, hardest time frame of this business. It'll get to the point where you don't need to make money. You're making your money off of your value and bringing people up and training and teaching them, and the width of that, and the fact that you've got some volume with it, and you've got spread on that volume, right? Until you don't need that spread, that money on your own pen, and you have enough spread on that. And then you have also some crossline, you have some, not crossline, but you have some wingmen within your organization. Who's your top guy right now?
I've got two. I've got Levi and Amanda.
Levi and Amanda. So Levi and Amanda, as your wingmen coming up, as they start getting to the point where they're start balancing and juggling that, like for me to get out of the field, I needed Kevin and George and Janet Matthews and Kishan to be able to carry on the bell and say, yeah, I remember when Lynn was in the field, because I was in the field with them every week while they first started, on the leaderboards with them. That's one thing. As I start pulling out of the field, I need them to kind of like remind everybody, when we were in the field, this is what we did. Lynn, this is what Lynn taught me. This is how Lynn taught me to start, right? So, but it's just double time, Kevin. And I think I was having trouble balancing that time frame, and I would let a week slip by and miss production because I was working with new agents. And then I would be broke because I've skipped a week, right? And it wasn't quite enough off of just the agents. It was needing money on my own pen. So I'd be broke. I'd go in the field, and what's the field? The field is so easy, right? And I'd be behind a week, and I'd have an extra week's worth of leads. So I'd go to the field, be like, oh my God, this is so easy, because now I've got an abundance of leads. This is so easy. And then I had 3 clients I couldn't get to. I'll come back next week. And I'm like, I got to bust 2 weeks in the field. So I'd skip working any building, dry the pipeline up there. And then I would go back the third week and be like, this is hard, but I realized, yeah, I've got no pipeline now. Now I'm kind of starting over. It's quite the juggling act. I think Jim would agree, like getting to that point where you've got enough volume and spread to be out of the field is just a tremendous juggling, balancing act to get it there. But you can do it. You got it, man.
I'm getting it right in the middle. So I know.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about then.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Casey told me, he says, if you can start tracking on just a whiteboard, like this week, how much time did I spend in building and how much time did I spend in production? Right. So if I spent 75% of my time in production and 25% in building, shouldn't I see 75% of my income in production and 25% in building? That's about right. He says, what you got to do is start watching what you're making on both sides and watching the time you're spending on both sides, and then start to gradually wean one towards the other. So I keep my production up by knowing the time I need to put in. As it starts getting where I don't need to make as much on my own production, I can do more in building, but not too much. Just don't crowd it completely out. He said, you'll start to see when you get to 50-50, you're 50-50 on the income. You can move it the other way by making sure you've got the full focus on building for the amount of time it needs to be on it. Right. Like I know I'll start to know how much time it takes to do the production I need to do. And then I'm freed up for the rest of the time that way.
Yeah.
That helped a lot by starting to track that. At some point I started tracking that and realizing, it made me work harder on both sides, I think, because I didn't want to count building time if it was just like, well, yeah, I had a call with a couple guys. We didn't really talk about much, but I wouldn't count that building. That's relationship stuff. But it was a conference call, and I maybe had a conference or a webinar with 10 people training, and I was on the phone recruiting for 6 hours, working with my staff, training them. I'd count that in the building side, but there's things you do that's just like, it really wasn't work, like that part wasn't really hard. So it kind of made me sure I was focused on good building work and good production.
Lynn, I want to be respectful of your time, man. I'm super thankful you came on here. Do you have time for 2 more questions? Just
Yes,
one
sir.
from David and one from Wesley, just the other 2 leaders on here. So
Sure.
David, you want to go?
Yeah, thank you very much, Lynn, for joining our
Yeah,
call
man.
this morning, man. That's a great
Absolutely.
insight. I came into this company. I got off my square one before I got here and was working my way back up. But 5 kids all together, and just the only income for my family.
Yeah.
So I
Nice.
emphasize there and just want to thank you for that. I guess my question for you is kind of been answered for what you were answering for Kevin already, because I've been running at the AO and missed it a couple times already, and we're just getting back up and running at it again. And
Yep.
what would, I guess, for somebody that has such a high monthly overhead, because it costs me a ton to live every month, so like my own pen is so important, for like paying all of our bills. But how many hours would you say that you would actually put in a week by the time you actually were able to get out of the field and make that transition to where you weren't dependent upon your own pen anymore?
That's a good question. First off, 5 kids.
Yes, sir.
How old are you?
30.
You know what causes to have kids, right? I mean, you
Oh, we shut down shop, Lynn. We ain't having no more.
It took me a while to figure that one out too. So.
Yeah.
But no, man, that's a good question. And knowing the time is just tough. It's like, how many hours it was a lot. And I think with kids, and I know at 30 you got young kids,
Yeah, they're all 10 years young and down to 18 months. So.
Yeah. Well, you've got some time to build something extraordinary. You don't want to miss them growing up, but you also don't want to miss building something that's generational for them,
Yeah.
And right now is the time. But and I think the cool part is I was driving 5 hours out of town to run my appointments every week and spending 2 nights out of town with 3 young kids.
Right.
Y'all have got the ability to work from home, keep the kids to themselves, and you don't have all that back and forth drive time like I had,
Right.
So you can still see them grow up, but treat them, you want to work hard enough and spend enough time with them to have the time with them to see them grow and them to learn from you, but build something where when they're in their teens, it's going to be phenomenal for them. Me and Sandra was talking the other day about the property we live on and the things we get to do now, and the kids are grown, and it wouldn't be any different than it was had I not found insurance. They'd know what we're doing, but they didn't get to see the life we're leading now. The things we're doing now is just, and to have that kind of money when they were in their early teens or mid teens would have been, they might've been a bunch of spoiled brats. I don't know.
I want to turn my kids into dialers.
Yeah, there you go. little money streams, right? So,
That was a good
Yeah.
question, David. Wesley, I thought I saw you driving earlier. Can you unmute if you want to ask a question? If not, I'll let Jim ask the last one. There he is.
I am here and driving, but I'll be safe, I promise.
Here you go. Be careful.
So the balancing act that you talk about and how to transition, that was absolutely fantastic. And I appreciate you sharing that. Let me ask you this, when it comes to motivating or leading, the push versus pull, is that truly just totally based on each individual as far as when you need to push them, when you need to pull them, and how to balance that?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, the stuff you're talking about is a lot to do around the giant training we get and how, understanding who people are and how people work and all. But I've just kind of went with myself over the years is like, if I set the I've got the emotion on the table and I set the expectations properly and they tell me, they say they're going to hold up their end of the bargain, then I'm going to operate that way until I see different. And if they come back to me and say, I'm kind of struggling here. So yeah, I hadn't heard from you in a while. What's been going on? I'm going to come back to them. We're going to reset that emotion and reset that expectation. And then if it don't go from there, I mean, they may not get an answered phone call as often, I'm going to give them what they deserve if I've got the time in those situations. In other words, if they've been doing most everything right, and if they've been doing everything right, then they get my time easily. If they've been doing half of everything right, they may not get my time right when I'm busy with my wife and family, right? Because I can't expect, if I've set and it sounds cruel, but think about it this way. This business is a 1099 job. I tell you what it takes to win, and I'm going to pour my heart out and show you what it takes to win. I don't have any obligation to make sure you win. That's on you, right? The work ethic and the work is on you. So if I've set that expectation right, and I've told them that, like, I can't rob my time from, say I've got an organization of the size we're at, I can't rob time from people who's doing everything right. When we say everything right or part things right, it means everything right to succeed. Why am I going to take away my time knowing how to succeed and help other people to succeed, to work with someone who's doing half the things they need to do to succeed?
So in essence, you sprint with the sprinters, you run with the runners, you jog with the joggers, and the walkers, you buy a pair of running shoes.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
It's a good one. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I like it.
Thank you.
No, boom. That was awesome. Jim, Lynn, thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
Jim,
man.
Close it down, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, so I do have one last thing for you, Lynn.
All right.
Let me see. All right, so Jessica's on, and
Awesome.
What is it for you? And this goes for a lot of people. Is what is the meaning to have your spouse involved with your business?
Yeah, that's a huge one. Like, I think them just knowing, because it's not a corporate America job, it's a 1099 job. We're kind of out there, even though we've got a team around us, we're kind of out there in the field on our own. We're kind of warriors, road warriors. I mean, we got a team of support around us all through the week like this, but it's up to us to put our head down, go in our office and shut the door, build environments where we can close out the rest of work or the rest of life to go work in. They need to know why I'm doing that. They need to know why I was gone 2 nights a week. So I needed to reward them with things. I didn't need to be coming home after a bad week and having someone say, "Are you sure? Are you sure this is the right spot for you?" And knowing, I'd know in the back of my mind that if I hadn't done everything right, that's my fault, right? if I hadn't done everything right, I wasn't reading books, I wasn't going to conferences, I wasn't listening to all the conference calls, I wasn't coaching with my mentor. If I wasn't doing those things right, I probably wasn't going to have success. And so she'd have every reason in the world to question, are we in the right place? Maybe you need to go to Home Depot or whatever, you need to, go back to school and learn another trade or something, if they understand what the big picture and what the emotion is. Because let's work it backwards, Jim, like we do with appointments. Do we run a one-legged appointment?
No.
Why? Because I'm sitting with the clients with one of them, and he's got to show her everything or him everything if I'm sitting with the other one. And they go say, yeah, it was $97 a month for 300,000. Yep. What do you want? What do you want to do? $97 a month. But I sat with him and Bill made him cry. He shows her the numbers, right? Well, same thing with recruiting. I can recruit Jim and show him everything there is about this business and get him fired up where he's just spitting with enthusiasm. He's so excited, right? But then he comes and goes to her and says, yeah, he throws up all over, right? And he don't build the emotion about why he needs to change. I haven't done right for you, Jessica. I've been doing this, I've been doing that, or Sandra, I've been doing this, been doing that. I've been lazy, I haven't done right. Like I can't go to her with nothing but that. I need her to go to a conference. I need her to be on conference calls to see the emotion and see what the winning people are winning here, how they're winning and what they're winning. I need her to help me hold myself accountable. I need her to help me hold myself accountable. And that may not be nothing more than her, may not be her saying anything to me. It may be that she's sitting right there and she heard Edward Pritchett say, boom, boom, boom. And then we get home, I'm sitting there working. I'm thinking, I got to do those things. She was sitting right there beside of me, right? See, she may not hold me accountable, but I'll hold myself better accountable knowing she knows what I know, right? And they're just fun too, they have good food, good parties. Usually make great friends there. I mean, most of the wives in Symmetry or spouses in Symmetry are friends, just have just as many friends as the agents cross line with each other do, So no, it's a good environment of a good bunch of the good cultured people, So you'll want to have them with you at a conference and conference calls, I think.
100%.
Yeah.
120%. I mean, I remember when my wife came to her first conference in I think she was in DC.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it literally changed who she is, and
do you feel like y'all would still be here if she wasn't at a conference, Jim?
I mean, I personally think I'd still be here because I just have that,
Drive.
that grit drive, and but it became full circle when she came, because then she saw the vision, she saw what this company can really do for you, and she sees it now, right? I mean, everybody knows that, like, she quit her job, and she's a stay-at-home mom, so that's what this company has given, right?
Yep.
So guys, and here's the cool part too, and I'll shut it down here in a second, is so yesterday I received, so QMS, right? We Casey and Brandon talk about QMS, right?
Yep.
They talk about, your clients from years ago, or a year ago or 18 months ago that you sat with, and literally, guys, I got a deposit of $3,400 in my bank account, and I didn't even do any of the work.
Yeah.
So that is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
On what this company is doing for you as an agent and as a person. That was more. I didn't do any work. That was more money than I made it would have taken me a month and a half at my old prior job to make that. So, you know, think about the opportunities not only that Symmetry has, but what it does for you, just your life. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if I didn't meet Lynn and I didn't meet Kashawn and Melissa, right? I mean, those things, you know, you're in a place, you meet people for a reason. And these people are here to change your life, even though you might not understand it in the beginning. Because I definitely did it. Right, Lynn? You know,
Yeah.
you know that. I
Yeah.
didn't understand that in the beginning.
Right.
You know, I was that go-getter, just that hard pusher, you know,
Yeah.
all that, you know, but it took me to become humble, took me to realize I do have faults. And,
Yep.
you know, think about what this, I mean, literally everybody, like what this company can do,
Yeah.
because there's so many great mentors that we have here. Right.
Yep.
So, you know, I want to thank you for your time, and
Yeah, man.
I look forward to seeing you. I think.
Appreciate y'all having me on, and I just look forward to seeing. I mean, we've got 29 people on here right now. Like 6 months from now, y'all have 100 people plus easy on here. And you know, look at your upline. Like, always be looking at where you're going. I was back around George and Janet Matthews, and that's one thing he talked about way back, was like he always loved the fact that he could see where he was going by watching Kevin and watching me. He's like, I know that they have nothing on me, but they've been here longer, right? They've been here a little longer. So all I got to do is look and see where they're going. So the other thing that helps you do if you're new is like, yes, I want to focus on what I need for me and my family, but I also want to help Mason and David, Kevin, Jim. I want to help them focus on getting their next level, right? I want to get them pushed up, because what does that do for me? It brings me up too, right? I'm going up with them, because I know if I help push them up, what's my people going to do? They're going to follow and help push me up, right? So focus on your numbers, but focus on how your numbers fit within the entire organization. Make a big difference. Yep. Appreciate all you guys.
Thank you
Appreciate it, man.
so
Thank you.
Yep. Keep up the good work. We'll talk to y'all soon. All right. See you.
Thanks,
And
Lynn.
And thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Boom. That was good.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks again for facilitating that, Mason. That was cool.
No problem. You guys all go make it a great day. Let me know